Hello and welcome to my channel today, Boo Snakes and More. For more videos like this, watch my other house channel, A&A Snakes and Stuff. My youngest son's channel, Henny's Toys and Games, or my oldest son's channel, Little Chris 10. Today we're going to be talking about Greek deities, so please like this video and subscribe to the channel. And for more videos like this, let me know. Deities in ancient Greece were immortal, anthropomorphological, and powerful. They were conceived as an individual persons rather than abstract concepts or ideals, and were described as being similar to humans in appearance, though they were considered larger and more beautiful. Though typically found in mythology and religion, in an anthropomorphic visage, the gods were also capable of taking on the form of various animals. The emotions and actions of deities were largely the same as those of humans. They frequently engaged in sexual activity and were finical and amoral. Deities were considered far more knowledgeable than humans, and it was believed that they conversed in a language of their own. Their immortality, the most defining marker of their divinity, meant that after having grown to a certain point, they did not age any further. In place of blood, their veins flowed with shaw, a substance which was a product of their diet, and confounded upon them their immortality. Divine power allowed the gods to intervene in mortal affairs in various ways. They could cause natural events such as rain, wind, the growing of crops, and endemics, and were able to dictate the outcomes of complex human events such as battles or political situations. Ancient Greek religion was polytheatrical, and a multiplicity of gods were venerated by the same groups and individuals. The identity of a deity is demarcated primarily by their name, though this name can also be accompanied by an infant or surname, which may refer to a specific function of the god, to an association with another deity, or to a local form of the divinity. Worship was the means by which the Greeks honored their gods, as they believed deities had the power to bring to their lives various positive outcomes which were beyond their own control. Greek cult or religious practice consisted of activities such sacrifices, prayers, liberations, festivals, and the building of temples. By the 8th century BC, most deities were honored in sanctuaries, sacred areas which often included a temple and dining room, and which were typically dedicated to a single deity. The cult of a deity contributed to how they were viewed, based upon the kinds of sacrifices made in their honor, the relation to their rituals, to the social order, and the location of their sanctuaries. In addition to their name and cult, the god's character was determined by their mythology, the collection of stories told about them, and their iconography, how they were dictated in ancient Greek art. Mythological stories about a deity told of their deeds, which may have related to their functions, and linked them through genealogical connections to other gods with similar functions. The most important surviving accounts of Greek mythology can be found in Homeric epic, which tells of encounters between gods and mortals, and Hazard's theurgy, which depicts the genealogy of the gods. Some myths attempted to explain the origins of certain practices, while others may have arisen from rituals. Myths known throughout Greece can also have differing local versions. Artistic representations allow us to understand how deities were dictated over time. From the early archaeological period, and works such as vase paintings can significantly predate literary sources. Art contributed how the Greeks convinced of the gods, and depictions would often assign them certain symbols, such as the thunderbolt of Zeus or the trident of Poseidon. The principal gods of the Greek pantheon were the 12 Olympians who lived on Mount Olympus and were connected to each other as part of a single family. Zeus was the chief god of the pantheon, through Athena and Apollo were honored in a greater number of sanctuaries in major cities. And Dolores is the deity who has received the most attention from modern scholars. Beyond the central divinities of the pantheon, the Greek gods were numerous. Some parts of the natural world, such as the earth, sea, or sun, were held as divine throughout Greece, though other natural deities, such as various nymphs and river gods, were primarily of local significance. Personifications of abstract concepts appeared frequently in Greek art and poetry, though many were also venerated and cult, with some being worshipped as early as the 6th century BC. Groups or societies of deities could be purely mythological in importance, such as the Titans, or they could be the subject of significant worship, such as the Muses or Charities. Major deities in Greek religion. The following section is structured after Walter Brecket's Greek religion, particularly his section, Chapter 3, The Gods, 12 Olympians. Aphrodite, goddess of sexual love and beauty in Howard's trilogy. She is born from the clustered genitals of Uranus, while in the lips she is the child of Zeus and Dione. She was worshipped throughout the Hellenic, and her best known cults were located on the island of Cyprus. A number of scholars believe she was near Eastern and Ordran, though others acquire she was derived from a cryptic goddess who contained indigenous elements. In the Odyssey, she is married to Hephaestus, though she fluctuates with Ares, and the two are caught in sexual embrace by an invisible net crafted by her husband. She also had affairs with mortals, such as Adonis and Enclavius, and would provide help to mortal lovers while perishing those who sparred love. In art, she was represented from the 7th century BC as a robed figure, though in the Hellenistic period various nude and semi-nude depictions were produced. Among her symbols were various birds, especially doves. Her Roman counterpart is Venus, son of Zeus and Leto, and twin brother of Archimedes. His various functions and associations include hearing, music, archery, and philosophy, and he has often been criticized as the most Greek of the gods. Apollo's cult existed throughout Greece, having been this widespread by the beginning of the 7th century BC, and was likely been brought to Greece during the Greek Dark Ages. By the 5th century BC, his worship had been introduced into Rome, where he was revered primarily as a god of healing. In mythology, he was said to have slain the dragon Python, who guarded an oracle of Themis at Delphi before taking over the shrine for himself. He had numerous love affairs with nymphs and women, such as Daphne and Corinne, as well as with males, such as Hythida, though he was often unsuccessful in his amorous pursuits. An audience dictated as a youth, usually without a beard, and can be found portrayed as a lore player or archer from the 5th century BC. He was often equated with the sun. Then we have Ares, god of war. He is the son of Zeus and Hera, and the lover of Aphrodite, by whom, in the trilogy, he is the father of Demetrius, Philos, and Hermina. His cult was relatively limited, and his temples were located mostly on Crete and in the Pillar Labs. He also often appeared alongside Aphrodite and Crete. In the lewd, he is dictated as in a largely negative manner. As a brash and wild warrior, he supports the Trojan side of the war and is frequently pursued. In opposition to Athena in ancient art, he was dictated early on as a warrior, bearded and with a spear and shield. Through from the classical period, he can find as a beardless and more youthful figure. In Roman, his counterpart was Mars. Then we have Archimedes, daughter of Zeus and Lada, and twin sister of Apollo. She presided over transitions and was associated with hunting in the wild. Her cult was the most far-reaching of any goddess, and she presided over female as well as male intervention rites. She is among the oldest of the Greek gods and is closely linked with Asia Minor. In Homeric epic, she's described as a talented hunter who traverses the Arcadian mountains, accompanied by a ritual of nymphs. She remained a young maiden and virgin indefinitely, and many who attempted to violate her chastity generally faced severe consequences. She dispatches swift punishments against mortals who display arrogance towards her or fail to honor her properly, and is also known for unexpectedly and suddenly killing mortal women. In art, she is often dictated as a hunter, carrying a bow and arrow, and wearing a dress. Through from the 7th century BC, there exist dictations of her as Ptera Texan. Her Roman counterpart is Diana. Then we have Athena, daughter of Zeus, who was born from his head after he swallows her mother Mantis. She was originally a Mycon or Myconian goddess, and her name is likely derived from that of Athens. Throughout Greece, she was the foremost posed deity in Greek cities. Her temple was typically located on a cider. The nexus of her worship was the Athenia's compass, upon which there was tempered to her by the 8th or 7th century BC. She is both a virgin goddess and a warrior, and is the patroness of all forms of craftsmanship and mythology. She completes the Poseidon for the prestige of Athenas, besting him by offering its inhabitants the olive tree. She is described as a provider of aid to male heroes, helping figures such as Hercules, Peleus, and Polymeme in their quest. In the earliest known artistic depictions of Athena, she wears a helmet and carries a spear and lance. And around the early 6th century BC, there began appearing representations, including the sagas, and a shield adorned with a Gorgontitan, and her Roman counterpart is Minervia, Demeter, goddess of agriculture. She is the daughter of Cornelius and Rhina, and the mother of Persephone by Zeus. She and her daughter were immediately connected in cult, and the two goddesses were honored in the Tavasir festival, which included only women. Demeter presided over the growing of grain, and she was responsible for the lives of married women. Her most important myth is that of her daughter's abduction, in which Persephone was stolen by Hades and taken into the underworld. Hearing the cries of her daughter as she is taken, Demeter traverses the earth looking for her, and local versions of the story tell of her interactions with mortals during her search. This myth, which is first narrated in the Homeric hymn to Demeter, was central to the Aslian mysteries, the most ancient of the Greek mystery religions. In art, Demeter is typically depicted as a cloth figure, and features of her representations include the Polios Classroom's shaft and touch, and her Roman counterpart is Charis. Delorius, son of Zeus, and the mortal woman Semira. He is the most versatile and elusive Greek deity, and is the god who has received the greatest attention in modern scholarship. He is the god of wine, intoxication, and ecstasy, and is associated with theater, eroticism, mask, and madness. His name is attested in Macaronean Greece, and there is evidence of him having been worshipped continuously from the 15th century BC. His cult was more far-reaching than that of any other Greek god. His festivals, which can be found across the Greek world, often featured drunkenness and rivalry, and included the Athenian, the Oligarch, the Royal, the Syrian, and the City the Goddess. His pregnant mother dies upon seeing Zeus, in the form of which he appears to Hera, and Zeus snatches the unborn god into his thigh, stitches the unborn god onto his thigh, from which he is then born. He is accompanied by a routine of Ceres and Selena, and is said to have traversed with his flowers to locations such as Egypt and India. His artistic dictations are more numerous than those of any other god prior to 430 BC. He is portrayed as a bearded or coiffed adult, often adorned with an animal skin, while later representations depict him as a beardless, effeminate youth. Thank you for watching this video, and peace out to the next one.